Welcome to Shout Your Cause with Sally Hendrick, a digital magazine where you can get found, get heard, and get inspired with content that challenges us to be globally minded. Our focus is on raising awareness around social justice issues, cultural differences, and to bring you the people dedicating their lives to tackling challenging topics as their way of giving back. Let us be your advocate to make your voices heard around the world. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Shout Your Cause. This is Sally Hendrick, and I am super excited today to have a wonderful guest. Her name is Jess, and she goes by @CrazyMotherRunner on TikTok. Is that right? Crazy Mother Runner?
Yep.
Yes. Awesome. Well, Jess, I literally just got done listening to a couple of your Rabbit Hole Heroines podcast episodes. When did that start? I only looked at it briefly.
Yeah. So it was kind of a funny story. I want to say it was May. Myself and Big Weird Mom actually got invited on the Nikki Ryan show. And so Nikki knew and Ryan Shed. And we were just like, they really wanted to delve down conspiracy theories. She was the parlor martyr. I was the Telegram girl. So they were like, let's talk to these ladies. And so at the end of, or during the podcast, someone was kind of like, had made a comment, y'all should do a podcast, like kind of just in jest. And then when we hung up, we ended up like going, maybe we should. And it was born. So about 4 weeks later, we, got set up on StreamYard, and we're still getting the hang of it. It's like I said, it's kind of started like late May, I guess. And we've had great, response. We've had so many fun people come on from both TikTok and like Instagram, because she's got kind of more of a base on both platforms, where I'm growing in other platforms, but TikTok is kind of where my bread and butter is, I guess, and my followers. But yeah, so we started kind of creating this thing where we'd speak to different people with, that were part of different communities and delve down per se their rabbit holes. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Coming up in the next couple of weeks, we get to talk to Donish. I don't know if you're familiar with him. And then we're also going to talk to a former conservative political like activist who is now very much left leaning, and and I'm excited. And she's got a lot of people in her field that are still in the conspiracies. So it'll be interesting.
So if you started out with Telegram conspiracy, like you were just like snooping around, listening in, kind of being that fly on the wall, and then maybe reporting back, is that how things started with you on TikTok?
So sort of. So I started TikTok last April. And I was, of course, doing the normal, like, escape COVID, silly videos. I'm a runner. So I started doing some type of like running mini blogs that were like 1 minute long with this parkour. I did the Utadas outfit of the day. Like, I was kept it very fun, very light. I built a pretty decent following. I had about 23,000 followers as of end of December of this past year. But around election time, I started paying more attention to my political TikTokers, because I had a ton that I followed. I just didn't make political content. And then I started paying more attention to people on Facebook, especially ones close to myself, like my parents. And I noticed that my stepdad was sharing these really outrageous clips and memes. And I'm just like, what is this? And I happened on a video about this guy named Simon Parks, who's from UK. He's not even American. When I delved down that rabbit hole, holy hell, it was wild. I learned a lot about, where they were getting information. Then I landed on Parler. So I was on Parler originally, just like Big Weird Mom back in early November, late October. Pretty much watched them plan January 6th from start to finish. So just a side note, I'm very furious that the FBI just came out and said it wasn't planned. That is nonsense. But anyways, but yeah, so was really like diving in deep. And then when Parler got shut down days after the insurrection, I saw them talking about jumping ship to Telegram. So I ended up going with them, got on a lot of channels, one of which got really big. It had like 30,000 members at one point, and now it's gone. But Telegram was very unique that you could actually live chat with someone. So like they had this option where you could like join a talking chat. So you didn't see anybody, but you could like have a conversation like you're on a group chat telephone call. So I started like, if there was ever more than like 6 to 10 people, I'd like sneak in and listen. There was a couple times I actually had a conversation. In fact, one time I was actually in a chat with my eldest daughter, who is a leftist, like there's nothing around it. And she started rage yelling at this very Southern gentleman who was kind of racist, kind of awful. And and they booted me out of my chat. So I had to like create a whole new account to get back in.
Oh,
and
no.
It was such a mess. Yeah, she's like literally just raged at them, my 16-year-old. And I'm just like, oh, this is going to be bad. And then I got booted from the chat. And then they were sending me private messages. And they were like, why'd you stop talking? I'm like, because you guys booted me. Like I can't, because they were having a conversation, but she was really angry. I think they were talking about abortion and it got really heated. So anyway, so I was on Telegram. I'm in like 3 or 4 different chat rooms, both for QAnon, Parlor Lifeboat. And then there's a very large conservative kind of conspiracy creator on TikTok. I'm also in her chat. So yeah, I just kind of was monitoring, but it can be a little taxing on your mental health and just the things that you see and learn. But yeah, I found it fun to share with TikTok. And so yeah, it started with sharing the story of Simon Parks, who is a avid conspiracy theorist that a lot of people were listening to at one point. I think he's kind of fallen out of the circles, even though he still makes, is putting things out there. But this man literally thought that he had a holographic sexual experience with an alien at age 5. He also believes that at age 11, he was brought aboard the mothership and that he has a 9-foot tall alien mother. He also believes that he has alien children, that he had extramarital affairs with an alien as an adult on his wife. So it was a pretty wild rabbit hole learning about him.
That sounds more like a drug trip than it does.
Right? Like a bad acid trip, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I learned a lot, and it was really funny because when I found out all that out about it, I think it was the only time that I actually confronted my stepdad about the information. I was like, yo, this guy thinks this, and this, like, why are you using him as a source on your Facebook? I'm a little concerned, Pop. Like you need to fix that. That's how I converted into that.
Do you have a dog? Learn unleashed potential dog training secrets with Duke Ferguson. This free video series will get you pro training tips so you can get your dog's attention, eliminate behavioral problems, and enhance your relationship in just 20 minutes a day. Sign up at sallyhendrick.com/dog training. So outside of TikTok, what is it that you do? You run, obviously, and you're a personal trainer. And you mentioned before to me, before we got on to record, that you work with a school as well. So
yep.
Has school started yet?
No, I have started back, but school does not start till August 30th. So we're getting ready. Getting ready. Yes.
And what's going on as far as masks are concerned? Is that something that's easy or hard in your school system?
No, very easy. I live in Virginia, which is really a purple state, if you're going to be honest. But we do have a very Democratic governor, and I hope it stays Democratic and come December next month in November when we vote. But anyways, so he basically he didn't issue a mandate, but he basically issued guidance that he wanted schools to follow CDC guidelines. So that was kind of his roundabout mandate. But I live at my particular school district has always been very public safety first. So, we've always made decisions, like our superintendent has always made decisions based on like community numbers, whatever the CDC is recommending. So I'm very thankful for that. I actually, speaking of like Facebook from earlier, I actually infiltrated a group that was for my county or district called Unmask Our Children. And I literally just joined it to like kind of see, I was very sad to see people I knew in real life that were in it, but to kind of see how much pushback they were doing, to kind of think, okay, do I need to organize something against, against them? I didn't see my school district changing their stance, like even without CDC's recommendation, I didn't see that. But, it was definitely one of those things. I'm like, I want to keep an eye on it, because if these people get really adamant, I'm definitely going to be pushing back and getting people to push back. But yeah, so no, we have 100% mask wearing, all grade levels, students and staff, no exceptions, with the exception, of course, of eating and being outside, because we do live in Virginia. It's very humid. So outside recess, and of course, lunchtime is the only time they're allowed to unmask. And I'm very thankful, because I have a 9-year-old, and she goes to the school that I work at, and she can't get vaccinated. So I'm kind of hoping, let me keep her protected until that's a possibility, as best I can.
Well, I don't blame you. And I have to say that I'm very thankful that my kids are all grown now, and they're, one just graduated college. The other one only has a little bit left in college, and she's in a very liberal college, if you will. It's an art school. Yeah. And then my other one is also in an art school. But I live 25 minutes from Franklin, Tennessee, which is where I know, it's where that meeting was, the school board meeting, where people were just so adamant in the school board meeting that went for a long time. And then afterwards, those 2 country music performers were berating the doctor that was in the car trying to leave.
I actually got banned temporarily for that video.
Oh, did you? Because they
put it back up, but yeah, I got banned on my main. That was what got me banned on my main last time. Yep. That video.
Well, that's crazy. I posted it too. The thing about that, which I was like, I've got to figure out who these people are. And the one guy that kept saying, calm down. And then he looked at the doctor and said, we know who you are. Yeah, he was Kelly Clarkson's guitar player, who she fired on stage at some point last year, I think. Yeah. Or maybe the year before, but he was being a jerk to her fans from stage. And she literally turned around and fired him on stage in the middle of a concert.
That's crazy.
His name is Dwayne something. The other guy is named Rodney Lunn. He was the one that had the really dark hair. Yes. And he was the one that was yelling and growling.
And doesn't even have a kid.
Right. That's what I was going to say. He has no kids, but he's also a performer of some kind. And he has an Instagram account.
He's an actor, I think, like a model, something like that.
Yeah, something. But his Instagram was set to private when I went to go snoop around.
Shocking.
So that was embarrassing. And then there was a meeting just the other day. That video has been traveling around. It was the next school board meeting, and there was a parent who got up and was talking about how he couldn't believe what had happened at that meeting the night before the first day of school, and how he has a 5-year-old who was going to school. And he really told a lot of truth to everything that was happening there, and how that area of all places needs more diversity and inclusion education than anywhere. And it is, I wrote a bit about it. I may be doing a full article on it. But it is what I call white flight central. In the 60s, you had the civil rights movement. And then after that, in the 70s, you had desegregation of schools, which, took a while to happen with all of the southern states, but it obviously did. And when it started to happen, a lot of people in Nashville basically packed up and moved to Franklin.
Would you rather work or would you rather play? If we're going to go through all of this business building stuff, it better be for something that we love doing, right? Take a moment to do this quick life purpose challenge to discover what makes you truly happy. It's free. Visit sallyhendrick.com/life purpose.
And they created their own new whitewashed community.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I'm from a very small town in West Tennessee, and there's a lot of rural areas around here. Those areas are typically 80 to 90% red, if you will, which is why the state is red, because Nashville and Memphis, the counties that we're in are both blue. And then there's like another county that was blue this past time. But
Right.
for the most part, the red comes from the rural areas.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And my hometown has actually experienced its own white flight situation in the last 15 years. So they're like 50 years behind everything. And
Mm-hmm.
now they are abandoning my hometown, and they moved away 5 minutes down the road to create a whole new school system and everything.
Oh my gosh.
And I did an analysis on the whole area, and I looked, and the hometown I grew up in has like 98% of the children are on the free lunch program, and the median income in the town is about $30,000.
Oh my gosh.
But then, and then 5 minutes away in the new area, that zip code and that school system, you have about 15% are on the lunch program. And then it's a $65,000 median income 5 minutes away.
Yeah.
So it's pretty,
they're self-segregating, even though they sit here and preach that the Democrats are supposedly for segregation or whatever. I don't even understand, but yeah. Crazy.
I mean, you've had different things happen over the years between Democrats and Republicans.
Right.
You've had a lot of back and forth. We've had a lot of policies that were bad that in long-term looking hindsight, you find out, oh, this really wasn't what it was supposed to be. And you do have corporations that are really in charge. When it comes to left versus right, the corporations are really who's in charge, because they're funding the politicians.
Yeah.
And then they're employing most people outside of the government. So it's really just a battle between the uber wealthy and
it is. And I feel like right now, the left in regards to corporations does have a little bit more power right now. I feel like the power in our government is very neutral to an extent, like I definitely feel like we're getting some things through, but I don't think we're anywhere near where we should be. But like in regards to corporations, you have to notice that a majority of them do side with like BLM and LGBT. So I'm thankful for that. But then it creates this really bad polarization for the Republicans, who basically feel like they're being eliminated. But it's more of the fact that right now, whether they want to admit it or not, left-leaning views are the majority. I mean, it is. And the corporate businesses know that, and they want money. So they're going to appease the larger, majority population. So it all comes down to money. I mean, I guess I'm kind of glad I'm on the right side of the fence for that, but it is the truth.
So one of the things I wanted to mention was that in that same vein, you will see corporations that will maybe fly a rainbow flag, or they will say something about Black Lives Matter or some other cause that's happening. And but then they'll turn around and they'll be part of the group that supports ALEC, ALEC, which is it's like a PAC or whatever that creates all this legislation and shares it among Republican Congress people to present bills to Congress.
And actively go against the very things they claim to support. Oh yeah, I agree.
Right.
I agree. It's like they're doing the for show, the support of the what we would call marginalized or whatever communities. And then in the backdrop, they're doing the exact opposite. But sometimes I almost wonder, to an extent, if that's and this sounds very conspiratorial, but I live in that world, but like almost to the point of keeping that division alive. You know what I mean? Like they're padding their pockets by peddling to the marginalized communities and the people that support those communities and support those causes. But then they're using that very same fund to fund the other side of the fence, to keep them still in power. I mean, bottom line, so that we have this continued down the line issue where we just can't get anything accomplished. So, I mean, I don't know. It just seems like that's what's happening when it comes to corporations. And it's really funny because Republicans are so quick to be like very negative outwardly towards big corporations and big pharma and all that. I'm like, but you don't want to put any policies into place to actually eliminate those things like we do. Like you want to have bad words for them, but you don't actually want to do anything to fix the problem. You let your politicians give corporations tax breaks. You don't support universal health care to eliminate insurance and big pharma. Like, it's just like, you're doing everything the opposite of what you actually want to get rid of. And I don't get it. Like, they don't even see it. They've been like gaslit to believe a totally different narrative and not even realize.
Yeah. It's almost like you've got this, you have a wrapping paper around everything that looks pretty for certain things, but then what's really happening behind the scenes is completely opposite. And I think that that's just kind of, it's almost like a distractionary technique that you use with toddlers. And that's what they use with American people. And today with social media, the way that it is, it's gotten to the point where, well, I'm sorry, but a lot of this is now getting exposed and you can't keep continuing it. But then on the other hand, we get shoved into these algorithms of only seeing people who are in support of, yes.
Yeah. And people believe, and that's a big issue with like the big lie, is the fact that these people have inundated themselves with their people to the point that anybody that comes into their bubble and tries to say otherwise, they literally think, oh no, we're the majority, you're wrong. And that's something that I continuously battle, because I've kind of made my platform, like, obviously I do a lot of debunking, which is freaking exhausting. But, because with Telegram, I tend to see some conspiracies or, twisting of narratives before it even makes it to social media, or I'll see it being shared there and it's just been introduced to social media, or however the case may be. So, like, for instance, the one that I recently discussed, which was this idea that really right now, it seems like alt-right conservatives are really pushing this agenda that Australia is in some hyper authoritarian situation, which if you actually talk to the people that live there, they will totally tell you this is utter nonsense, and they're not. But they were pushing I don't know if you saw it, but they were pushing a video out, first showing a clip of a recent presser that was done in Australia by the Prime Minister, and then dubbing afterwards an image of basically a parent being arrested and their child being taken from him. The child was probably no older than maybe 10 to 12 years old. And they twisted it that the presser was about forced vaccinations and this child was being stripped from their parent to be given a forced vaccine. The reality is, in the country of Australia, you can't get a vaccine unless you're 16 and older. And that just started this week, so that high school and graduates could take their annual testing and feel safe. And they had 24,000 students, and they had 24,000 Pfizer vaccines set aside for them. At this stadium event that was going on a week long, you had to book an appointment. It was voluntary. They had 18,000 students from 16 and up show up. But they completely changed the narrative. And I'm like, this is an image of a person getting arrested and using their child to keep from getting arrested. Like, this is basically a CPS situation we would see here in the States, but they literally lied and merged these two videos that had nothing to do together, with each other together, to again, force this alternative agenda. And so, it's like, you find that, and then you have to find the source, and then you have to it's just, it needs to be done. And I'm glad I do it. I sometimes wish more people did what I did. I feel like a lot of political content creators are amazing, and they really expose the GOP. Obviously, like me, they show the crazy clips from like school board meetings and expose kind of the insanity that exists in our country right now. But there's not a lot of people, and I will say there's a lot of amazing healthcare nurses and workers that expose other healthcare nurses that are claimed to be
like
nurses.
Nurse
Tough Love and Smug Nurse and muscle nursing. Yeah. I mean, there are some fabulous healthcare creators on here that do that for the COVID aspect, but just in general, I mean, there's so much disinformation just around political agendas right now, and they're pushing out disinformation faster than we can combat it. And like, a video that's a lie will be shared, like that video of the kid was seen more than 1 million times on Twitter in less than 24 hours. And it's a lie. So it's like, how do you combat that? Like, it feels almost impossible. I still try, but it feels impossible.
It does feel impossible. And it's painful. It's very painful to see that, especially when you know that it's not true.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you want to stand out from the crowd with your content? Come discover how to market yourself as an expert, as a change maker, as a positive influence on other people's lives. With the Exponential Marketing Club, you will learn the ins and outs of content marketing that makes a difference in the world. Visit sallyhendrick.com/club.
So let's move it in the positive direction of like, what are we going to do about this? You know, what are you thinking that Coalition for Humanity is going to be? Is that something you want to create into something else? Is there going to be a petition effort behind it, or what do you think?
Yeah. So my concept behind it obviously was, one, to have a central location to bring a lot of different creators with diversity and different backgrounds onto one platform, mainly to educate and to share different viewpoints, and just to, because, you know, I always find it funny that the right calls the left sheep, simply because we all, you know, believe in science and take a vaccine. And the reality is, if you actually paid attention to the left, you would realize it's so unbelievably diverse. There's nothing sheep-like about the left. But, you know, it's the fact that I wanted kind of a place to bring people together, even though they don't all have the same ideas, or even, you know, similar agendas, but not the same idea on how to get there. And so that was my main, you know, my initial concept. And then I also really hope to, and I've already got a couple people in the link tree on the page, but I'm hoping to get people that we want in office that truly are representing our motives and our policy, you know, hopes for the future. And give them a place where we can like kind of elevate them. So have them in the link tray, have videos that get shared of them and what their campaign is, and help them get funding. Because, you know, that's the problem. I feel like a lot of the people that we really want in the place of power, like people like you and me, like even these TikTokers, you know, like Ryan Shedd and Marcus Flowers and Jesse, all of these like amazing people that, you know, we know what their views are. But they don't maybe get the opportunity to get the funding that they need, because sadly, that's really what ends up happening with elections. Like, you know, a lot of people are like, if you don't show up at election day, I mean, election day is the end game. Like, it doesn't start and end on election day. Like, it starts a year before election day. And so many people are absent from that process. And that's why we don't get the people we want on the ballots.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, nobody knows who they are. And that's why a lot of people go after people who, like, you think about the parties, they go after someone who is already so well known that you completely jump over that awareness phase, which is I do marketing, and there's a huge effort towards just making people aware that you exist without even worrying about if they like you or not. You know how you hear the know, like, trust factor? Knowing someone is the first thing. Liking them is another thing. And if it's a political thing, they can make you say or do whatever, you know, they want you to. And people are only going to remember what happened in the last 6 months. They're not going to remember what happened 10 years ago, or maybe it will get brought up, but it gets washed out by the effort with the money in the current space to bring forth the message that they want. And that's why it is so hard. However, it starts at the local level. And so it is really important to be able to infiltrate local politics that way. So I really commend that, if that's the way that things are going to go. And I would love to be able to
That's my hope. Definitely.
Yeah. I'd love to be able to see you be able to pull in people who are going to be running or thinking about running. And maybe, I don't know, maybe somebody from the various Democratic Party offices around the country would be able to look into something like that as a way to be the marketing arm of getting people's message out there.
So there's also another organization called Demcast, which was established, I think, in 2019. So it's kind of a similar concept. It's more localized. Like, it has a web page, and then it's got a lot of traction on Twitter. But Nick Knudsen, he's actually kind of on my panel, shall we say, of people when I kind of born this idea. So, you know, what's nice is if I can get it to where I want it to be. I mean, unfortunately, like, it kind of got really, really big and loud, and like I had a lot of content. And it's a lot of work, and I'm just me, and I do have 3 kids, and I do have like, you know, 2 jobs. And, you know, I'm juggling a lot of things. My oldest is a senior. My youngest is in 4th grade. Like, So it's me trying to delegate. I'm really bad at that. And it's also the fact that this is not something that's going to bring you money. Like I'm not making any money from this. It's truly just for the purpose of, both elevating voices and hopefully getting the right people in a place of power so that we can make actual change in our government.
Turn what you know into what you do. Join the platform with the most ways to monetize what you know, whether it's online courses, coaching, memberships, podcasts, newsletters, communities, or more. Kajabi gives you all the tools you need to build, market, and sell it with just a few clicks. Sign up at sallyhendrick.com/Kajabi. That's Kajabi.
So it's me trying to delegate, and that's where I struggle a little bit. So I've got to get more tasks. I'm hoping when school starts and like my kids aren't here and I have half a day to kind of focus a little bit more, I'm gonna nose to the grindstone. But yeah, it's a lot. And I, as we said before we went live, I also have 3 of my own TikTok pages that I try to manage, and I'm trying to build a presence on Twitter and Instagram as well. Because I know that TikTok has kind of been hit or miss with the banning and all the other nonsense that happens there. So yeah, it's just I put a lot on my plate, and it's okay. I'm a good multitasker, but it's just one of those things that I've got to like figure out how to get organized. I don't know if you know Matt, Mute the Media. He's a far more leftist individual than me. Like I'm a baby lefty, I like to say, but he did a really amazing job by kind of putting together something that I feel like really hits home for everybody on the left. I feel good about that. It's just really, I think really at this point, it's more about getting creators on board to give original content, as well as, of course, I would love to have somebody represented from every state in all 50 states that we can help, elevate and help with their campaigning and
that
have
would be
their
really
information.
cool.
Yeah. I mean, that would be my end game goal.
If you need any information on Tennessee, I can get you connected with the right people.
Yeah.
So, because I do know some people that own, different news outlets and things like that would be in that direction, and would be a good place to look for information. It would even be a place, even if they didn't provide content directly, it would be a great thing to look at, to use their content to elevate issues, because they're always putting that in their news outlets.
Right.
So, all right. So for the listeners out there, if you want to follow Coalition for Humanity on TikTok and on Twitter, it's Coalition4 Humanity. Just so you can find it, and you will see Jess out there. And Jess is also, like I said at the beginning, Crazy Mother Runner on TikTok, with a few other backup accounts going on, which I understand, but woo, what a pain, huh?
It is. They all start with Crazy Mother Runner. So if you type that in, you will see all 3. But
yeah, exactly. Well, I look forward to seeing more from you in the coming days. Is there anything else you want to share with the listeners about your hope for what's to come, at least when we get past the worst part of this pandemic?
Yeah. I would love, honestly, I would like to see more conversations happen, with not necessarily the alt-righters. I feel like some of those are really far gone, but I would definitely like to see some more dialogue between people. Like, I feel like, because unfortunately COVID politicized to the point that it was, nowadays you can't even talk to like an acquaintance without a conversation turning political. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's my big hope is, I would love to see more people get vaccinated and, and I would love to see GOP Republicans not blaming people of color for it. And, like, that's where I am right now. Like, I just like to see more honesty, being, and represented in our government, and, people just caring about each other and having real conversations again, because I think we've gotten really far away from that. And I think it's really sad.
Well, I agree with you. I want to see more conversations across the aisle, across the table, because I think that most people are not too many degrees away from the middle. Definitely have fringe, but it really is a matter of not understanding where people are coming from. And also it takes being a little courageous to reach out across the aisle and say, look, we need to have this discussion, and we need to do it in such a way that doesn't derail things. And that's a hard thing to do.
Yeah. I will say, I'm going to say this, I'm going to add this at the end. I will say, because I made it, I said earlier, this is really tiring. And sometimes I wish there's more people that did what I did. However, I've had 2 conservatives that have completely flipped and like come, like actually send me information and say, hey, can you give me the truth on this? And I've had probably in the last 3 days, I've had like 6 people private message me that they got vaccinated because of me. So like that shit makes it worth it. So like, I think that, and I think when people see because you can tell sometimes in my TikTok when I'm really like at my wit's end or just really down, because, when you live in it, it gets hard to like separate yourself from it. And at the end of the day, like those messages and those changes are like the only driving force that make me keep like making content. Cause I'm like, okay, I've reached somebody like that means something. So yeah, I got a message today and it was like, thank you. You made my day. So yeah.
Well, and
100%.
those are only the ones you know about. You have to realize too, that that's the tip of the iceberg. There's probably 90% more, underneath that you don't see.
So.
and that will reverberate. Well, and if anything, here's what you've got to realize too, is that the effort that you're giving to the public, if people are in agreement with you, a lot of times they just need the story to turn around and tell their family members. So maybe, maybe it doesn't come directly back to you, but indirectly it's coming back to what you've said and all these other great creators on TikTok. Let's do a quick shout out for, Crazy Mother Runner is you. Big Weird Mom is your podcast co-host.
Yes.
Abe Mirko is one that you talk with. He helped you name the coalition.
He did. And he is now, he won't be silent. And now he's vote. He had to change it. He got banned, bless his heart. It's not won't be silent. And I can't think of it.
We'll find him. Him.
And then, some of my favorites, Duchess Prem, Nikki New, Ryan
Muscles
Shedd,
and
of course.
Nursing.
Muscle and Nursing, yes. Nurse Tough Love, Smug Nurse. Oh my God, there's so many creators I love. And Michael the First. I have a lot of amazing small creators. Coach Jay, getting shiggy with it. She's not little, but I love her. We do some fun tinfoil hat videos. That was kind of my tipping point when I really got kind of popular among the masses. Santa Claus. He just sent me a message. I love World Tocatus.
Do you know Be Him Blue Dot?
Yes, I love Be Him Blue Dot. She was actually on one of our podcasts.
Oh, I'm supposed to interview her, but we haven't connected yet.
Yes, she's amazing. She's so sweet. I know you talked earlier, like, who do I know in real life? So of course, Big Weird Mom, Abe, I know in real life, the Dude Trader, Duchess Prem, of course. Amber Kennedy. I don't know. She's not on TikTok anymore, but she used to be Disappointed Middle Child and then Semicolon Middle Child. She's one of my favorite Canadians. There's so many. Oh my gosh. I could probably sit and name like 100. So Mute the Media. He's helped me out a lot.
Well, good. Let's all go listen, follow them, and try to learn more and share each other's content. And we will connect again. Thank you very much for being on the Shout Your Cause podcast. And listeners, see you next time. Head over to the website.
Thank you for listening today. My name is Sally Hendrick. Be sure to visit our website for show notes and more information on how you can inspire others. If you would like to contribute content to our magazine, please apply on our website at shoutyourcause.com.